everybody. Welcome to episode 5 of the Heathen Wyrdos Podcast. God, it's episode 5. Today we're going to talk about altars and tools in both heathen and general polytheist practices, as well as in witchy practices. We'll discuss what's necessary, what isn't, what an altar even is, and we might even give you guys a little clue on what's on our altars. First, though, let's introduce ourselves.
Hi, I'm Theo. My pronouns are they, them.
Hi, I'm Sif. My pronouns are she, her.
I'm Kenna, also a she, her.
And I'm Jay, and I'm also she, her. So, to begin, let's define what an altar is. According to Merriam-Webster, an altar is a usually raised structure or place on which sacrifices are offered or incense is burned in worship. Now, this definition is pretty academic, and to be honest, I think it really just doesn't do justice to the true meaning. So, let's go around. How do you guys define an altar? Kenna, you want to start?
So the problem is that my altars are a shit show. I don't know that my definition of an altar is going to be functional for everybody. But my definition of an altar is a dedicated space for a thing. Sometimes it's for witch shit, and sometimes it's a dedicated space for a deity, and sometimes it's both, like my makeup vanity mirror situation. So that's a non-answer. I'm aware, and I'm sorry.
No, I actually like that answer because, like I said, I think the dictionary answer is so stuffy.
Yeah.
And altars mean different things to different practitioners. So,
I mean, my altar is primarily where I keep all of my, any quote-unquote dedicated tools I might have, like my Cernunnos statue or, candles that already have something dedicated to them or, assigned to them. That's where those live. So, but yeah, I use it for a space where I do my practice. But, I just kind of do my praxis wherever I want. So my altar is,
such a mood.
It's like I just do it wherever I want. So, I do use my altar, but Millie. Come on.
I'd like to contribute.
Millie has feelings.
Yeah. But anyways, so it's the home for all of my stuff. I am thinking about I think I've shared the picture of the coffin in the Discord.
Yes.
I am thinking about attaching that to the wall and putting shelves in it and using that primarily as my altar.
I'd sleep in it.
Yeah.
Oh.
And my kitchen's likely gonna see a bit of an upgrade because I discovered, and I still can't pronounce his name. I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna butcher some Old Norse right now. And Shrimnir?
I think that's right. Antimir.
Sure. I call him Andy. So that he is the god, the cook for all of the other gods. And I cook a lot. I love cooking. So I've actually been thinking that I might... I did a bit of a deep dive last night, and I actually reached out already. It's the fastest I've ever gone with a deity ever. But if it goes well, I'm thinking about getting some Damascus steel kitchen knives, because I tried to see if there were statues or anything.
Nope.
There's nothing available. So knives it is.
He's attested to once, I want to say. There's one mention of him.
That sounds right.
Definitely sounds on track for us. We all love our very, very,
Obscure.
yeah, we love our obscure deities.
One attestation, or two, maybe.
Right. But circling back, that's awesome. That's great. The kitchen altar, because I know that's something I've seen a lot of people doing. I love that idea.
I mean, my entire kitchen is an altar.
I love that.
All of it.
I really do. So, Sif, what do you, quote unquote, define an altar as?
I think my definition is going to sound about as stuffy as the Merriam-Webster version. It's just...
Yeah, that sounds right. As the resident of Recon, you have to be that stuffy. It's law.
We love you, Steph. We appreciate you.
I was going to say it's a designated sacred space that you use to work or worship spiritually. It's more encompassing of the various practices rather than the previous definition, which was it's just a place for sacrifices or it's a place to burn incense for worship. And it doesn't, you know, everyone's practice is quite individual. It shouldn't be put into boxes like that. So
It's just those extra couple of words. And that's basically what I think too. That's basically how it, but much more succinctly. My explanation would drag on, but that's because it's like my altar. Organized chaos.
Correct.
Mhm.
That's the
We've all
correct way to
seen-
have an altar.
Right.
Yes.
It's a little bit of everything.
Mhm.
Not at all. No. All right. And as we aim to be inclusive to both heathens and polytheists in general and witches, it's important to know that sometimes altars can look differently depending on your practice. So first, Sif, being our resident recon, could you let us know what is usually on and what is usually the purpose of altars in polytheism?
it's essentially, to touch on my definition, it's a sacred space that can be inside or outside. It's primarily functional, with all the items on the altar holding some significance to the individual's practice. I would say that most altars across various traditions as standard have some sort of offering bowl or depository thing. Specifically in heathenry, we have offering bowls as it involves, the religion involves a gifting cycle, but it's far from absolutely necessary. Essentially, you may have something that represents your gods as well, some sort of image of them, and a candle, but that serves almost as a tool for ritual. Personally, I use candles to designate the altar as being used for ritual, lighting it at the beginning and extinguishing it at the end, tying into hallowing of the space and closing the ritual. The altar in polytheistic faiths is a space for your gods, a place that is innately sacred. There is no wrong or right way to put together an altar. It is entirely personal to you and represents your relationship with the gods you worship. We see that across history as well. They're very quite different. We have Adam of Bremen, who was writing in the 11th century. He's a German medieval chronicler who describes this massive temple that was decked out in gold, and the three gods that are in there are Thor, Woden, and Freya. And Thor was in the middle because he was seen as the mightiest of the gods. And we also have a description in one of the sagas that describes a Hof, which was 100 feet long and 60 feet wide, with windows and wall hangings. And in the middle of the hall stood an image of Thor, with other gods on either side. In front of him was an iron-covered altar, on which a fire always burned. There was a copper bowl used to collect blood from sacrifices in that essence, along with a silver arm ring. That's actually an example of an oath ring that we have, I think one of the few in the sagas. In terms of how you use your altar, it depends entirely on your practice, what religion you practice, other skills you might utilize. For instance, as I'm trying to practice Sather, I also have string on my altar and will eventually have a drop spindle and a distaff when space allows.
Of course, our resident recon with sources, which we love.
I just realized that I have multiple drop spindles. I crochet and knit a lot. It's like, oh, I could use that in
Ooh.
my altar.
Hi, hello. Welcome to everything as an altar tool.
Right? I was
Yeah.
like, how have I not done that before? I have work to do. Anyways.
I love that halfway through an episode, we're all like, oh, fuck. Why
Fuck.
didn't I think of that?
Just like,
That's part of what I love with this, because
We're
all
all
of us
learning
have
together.
those slightly right, and all of us have slightly different practices. So we bounce off each other. It's like, fuck, yes, that. So we really hope that actually translates to all of you guys listening there too. That you guys are learning with us.
I think that's one of the beauties of actually being able to find like heathen and witchy and pagan communities nowadays, even though it can be a little tricky. It's just like bouncing ideas off each other. Like, you know, like the popsicle sticks where it's like, the
Right.
fuck did I not think of using goddamn popsicle sticks? That's
So the
amazing.
popsicle sticks run.
I went to the dollar store. Now I have a ton of popsicle sticks.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Got a little god pole on them and you stand them up. They're really cute.
Oh,
What?
Cute.
Yes.
that's
I
awesome.
need more
I
popsicle
love that.
sticks.
See? Talking of altar tools,
They're gossicle sticks.
right? And we'll get back to that. Now, altars in witchy practices often can sort of kind of look like polytheists, but often there can be two separate altars. You'll often get people talking about working altars versus worship altars. So if you want to help us break that down, Kenna.
So, okay, I'm going to start with working altars. And I wrote in my doc where the magic happens, because literally that's the point. It's a working altar. It's where you do the work. It's genuinely a space to craft your magic, your spell work, even like practice divination. Therefore, it is usually preferably flat, maybe a desk, nightstand, something that you can comfortably be in front of for a while you are crafting your magic, reading your divination, and building your spell work in front of you. It's a working altar. It'll probably have your supplies nearby, might even have the supplies right on there, probably a couple like mood setters, candles, altar cloths, either a cute one or something that just keeps you from making a giant mess on your desk. Those are valid too. Whereas a worship altar is going to look similar to polytheist altars, not necessarily the same functionally because not all witches are polytheists, despite working with deities or the energies of a deity. That's a hard polytheist, soft polytheist conversation. But they might have representations of deities. Typical ones include like candles, statues, figurines, popsicle sticks. Usually those spaces will be dedicated to that deity. Think like put it on a shelf and don't touch it. It's theirs. Someone else has other thoughts. They should contribute them.
I think you did pretty good on that.
Yes.
I am a professional, yes.
No, I guess in my praxis, I just kind of don't acknowledge the difference between them. Like, I appreciate that exists. It's just not what I do.
Which is valid.
It's like,
Yeah, totally
yes,
valid.
here's a spot on the shelf. I'm going to put you here for now.
Yeah, like I have one big long shelf where everything is, and it kind of functions as both. And at one point, I was contemplating doing like a clear delineation. This is witchy, this is worship, and well, that never happened. Everything just lives together, and everybody seems to be okay with that.
It's important to note it is your relationship with your gods, and if they're cool with being a part of your kitchen, that is valid. And if they would rather be on a shelf in the corner looking pretty but not being touched, that is also valid.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Also valid if you are working with a deity that wants its own special space, and that if that doesn't vibe with you, then it's okay to not work with them.
Correct.
The smart thing to do is be in the kitchen, right?
Sure. It's close to the snacks.
Where the snacks are.
Yeah.
So what you're going to do?
Exactly.
What you're going to do is have a spice rack, and then you're going to have a god rack. They're both going to be on those little things that spin.
Oh,
Oh,
Lily,
lazy
yeah.
Susan.
Yes. You're gonna take yourself to a Marshall's. You're gonna get two. You're gonna get a real one and a cheap one. You're gonna empty the cheap one out, and you're gonna make little god jars. And you're gonna label the top of them.
God
You're gonna
jars?
stick them in the kitchen next to your spices. Yeah, god jars. Why not?
Okay, I mean, I'm here. I like jars.
Always known as
I'm assuming
jars.
we all have an abundance.
I actually found jars that I forgot I had this morning. So...
I actually replaced, so I don't actually, only set of glasses, like kitchen glasses I own is blue hand-blown glass set that I found at a thrift store for $2, and I love them. But otherwise, everything else is a mason jar. Everything else is a mason jar.
Mason jars are the best.
Or a mug.
They're great.
I can't forget my mugs. Anyways.
Well, no. So now that we know what altars can be, let's talk a little bit about the tools of what can be on an altar. I know we kind of touched on that lately when we were just talking, but we can go a little deeper into it. So tools of worship altars. We've kind of gone through before what's required versus, what you might like. Nothing is required. Really. We're going to just keep going over this every time we can.
Yeah.
It could be really simple. Get a candle, get a cup. Ta-da! But worship altars can be really elaborate. I know what I've seen. I've seen those really, really fancy incense burners. And I'm not just talking like the cute backflow ones. I saw this one, I swear on my life. I think the price was like $600 because it was like solid. It was solid brass backflow. The thing was like 2 feet tall. I'm like, who needs a 2 foot tall incense burner?
I mean,
It looked really
if you
pretty
have
though.
like 500 deities, might as well just like
or if you have
nail it
a
home with a big ass burner.
if you have like a dedicated altar room, it could be good.
Right.
Like I know I personally seen like on the note of backflow incense burners, like I've seen one that's a large stag that's like looking over like a baby deer, and you put the cone on its head, and like the smoke comes out and like falls over the baby deer, and I want it so badly, but it's $60 plus shipping.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean
So you can get the really fancy incense burners. What I do, I have a little cup that I got at the thrift store, itty bitty teeny tiny, about the size of a shot glass. I fill it with salt. I light a stick of incense, and I just stick the incense in
that's
there.
what I used to do. I currently have my large cast iron, like over a gallon cast iron kettle, and the bottom is filled with salt, and I just stick incense in there. Found it for like $5 at some consignment store of some sort.
I have a Viking boat.
Oh, hell yeah. I talk about incense mostly because it's a typical offering for deity, correct?
Mm-hmm.
As well as a badass mood setter. You don't need to offer incense if you have asthma or something, or smoke sensitive people, animals, whatever. You don't need to do incense. It's fine, you're fine. It's just one of the more common ones.
Yeah, incense is kind of historic to be an offering. Let's be honest, the Catholic Church uses incense. So it's pretty, like we've said, it is not necessary. I do not personally use incense. My landlord is very sensitive to it, and I've never been like, oh my god, I need to have incense. If someone ever told me I can't use candles, I'd have to find a new apartment.
Yeah.
But incense isn't necessary. Fire safety, please. We're going to keep this is going to be a huge theme. Fire safety. Candles are great for your altar.
LED candles are valid.
Yes. Dorm room hack. LED candles are a great dorm room hack.
Or even a lamp.
But also, get a small lamp that's specifically for that purpose. Offering cups, you can use legitimately the little solo bathroom cups. If you're in the broom closet and you can't have stuff like this around, take one from your bathroom. Use it with a little bit of water. There's your offering. When you're done, go back to the bathroom, pour it down the drain, and you throw out your cup.
You know what I've just thought of about LED candles? One of the benefits of LED candles is the fact you can get like multicolored ones, and like maybe the ones where you change the setting and it kind of goes like,
red.
Not just a normal candle light. Yeah, like it's red and then green and then you can set a proper mood setting.
Yeah. And depending on the color, you can use it as like a association with a specific deity too. Now that I'm thinking about that, that's actually. See, this is what happens when we record. Like we said. Funny, that actually goes right into the last thing that I had on my list for this was deity representations. See? Colors into deity representations. You know, you're going to see people with these big, giant, elaborate statues and, you know, they're solid brass, solid pewter, solid whatever. And you're going to see the price being $175, $250. I mean, I've seen some insanely gorgeous statues, but they're ridiculously priced.
Your wallet will cry.
Yeah. So keep in mind, what we had talked about on Broke Bitch Praxis. You don't need the statues. Find other things. Find random things that make you think of those deities.
Use sticky notes.
Yeah.
Or popsicle sticks.
Back to the popsicle sticks. Yes.
Hey.
They are the all-purpose tool.
Not required, but all-purpose.
And I'm sure we've all seen some really awesome deity representations that aren't just these big fancy statues. As I keep looking over at my altar to my $85 Freya.
Yeah.
But that's the only big one that I have. And that I've had for going on 2 years, I want to say. So all my other deities have other representations.
Deity representations, I love the big fancy ones. Don't vibe with my personal aesthetic, question mark. So I have ridiculous things on. I have a tiny little altar to hell because I got lucky and found some bones at the bottom of my yard. It's probably the only bones I will ever find. They're just bits and pieces of stuff from back when my entire street was one and farmstead, basically, because I live in the fucking country. So I have some bones. I have a wine bottle. I have a couple rocks. I have a Halloween candle holder that is shaped like a bat. And I have a little plastic ghost that has an LED candle in it that changes colors, and that's my little hell corner.
So
I
good.
love that. I absolutely love that.
It's got like legit bones and then like a little Halloween kid's toy. Yeah, nope,
That
that's
sounds
me.
great.
I love it. Now, with working altars, not every working altar is going to look like what your stereotypical Hollywood, movies, TV shows makes you see. Everyone's used to seeing the athames or ritual knives. You're going to see daggers. You're going to see chalices, bells, other representations of the four elements, cauldrons, all this other stuff. Working altars are what works for you. What tools are you going to use for whatever kind of spell work you're working on right now? Or what is your focus?
If you like me, sometimes your working altars are going to be things you set up when you need them and put on the shelf when you don't.
Like I've got a few things that just kind of chill out on my altar at all times so that it's quick, easy. I need this, this, and that. So like for me, one part of my altar is actually my top 15 herbs that I use. Big mason jar full of rose petals, which is kind of, it's multi-purpose because I use it as my offerings for Freya, but I often use rose petals and spells, especially if I'm asking for her to help influence the outcome of that. But like I've got a giant Costco-sized thing of cinnamon sticks.
I have that too.
I use a lot of cinnamon. So I've got that. I don't know who had put this into the document, but it's awesome. Whiteboards, chalkboards.
Yes, I've seen a big resurgence in sustainable and reusable altar cloth substitutes. I honestly, those like big desk calendars? I bought one at a thrift store that's undated, and I just use those. And when I'm done with the thing and it's all covered in wax and a mess, take that and recycle it.
That sounds good.
That's genius.
I use
Thank you.
That is absolutely genius.
like there's this teeny tiny
Chalkboards also work really
yeah. There's this teeny tiny consignment store near me where I can often go and get like an 8-pack of cloth napkins for like $2. And I definitely use those as my altar cloths, and like I've embroidered some of them.
I am firmly of the argument that unless you like want to spend money and can do it, it shouldn't be expensive. I lean folk craft. That's basically shit, this'll work in all contexts.
Yeah.
Will do.
Yeah, you definitely don't need to spend a ton.
Not at all.
The working altars can sometimes end up with really strange things on them, and I mean that in the best way.
Yeah.
Yes.
What weird shit do you guys have?
So in lieu of athame or a wand or anything like that, I have a silver scallop-edged spoon that I found for like $1 at a thrift store. I use it.
I love that.
That is, I think, besides my cream and sugar set that's enameled, and it's very pretty. It's like got gold edges and stuff and green flowers all over it. Like I also found that at the same thrift store for like $2. I think those are my only 2 pieces that are specifically for my praxis.
Oh, my collection of shock glasses are actually up on my altar. They work really well to measure out ingredients, and there's 1 or 2 that Freya seems to really like because they're gilded in gold, and she's like, "Yep, those are mine." So those are dual purpose. Those I'll use when I'm trying to measure out certain things, but I'll also use them specifically for her offerings for the Tennessee honey that she loves. Yeah, that's probably the weirdest quote unquote thing I've got on mine.
There's a difference in witch and heathen circles of what is weird, because a regular human would think is weird is like the bones and stuff, but a witch is gonna think is weird is like something random. Like on my Freya altar, my little makeup shelf, because I have makeup vanity. I have a big old mirror with a base, and it is full of Freya stuff. It's a combination working altar and worship altar, because part of my dedication to Freya is dedicating the time that I spend on self-care, including makeup and skincare and all that. Everybody knows this, it's fine. Talked about it so much. One of the things I have on that shelf, the tiny little heart-shaped pin, and it's painted like a butt with little pink underwear on.
I love that.
It's objectively strange, and I love it. It's perfect. I think I got it at a thrift store for like $2. It's very clearly homemade, like the hot glue pinning or gluing the pin back on. It's just great. Oh, it's so good.
So now comes the fun part, because I know I love this section because I get to quote unquote see what parts of your altar you're comfortable sharing. So it's time to do some virtual altar tours. I know some of us have gone into some like little details. So any other details that you want to go into? So Theo,
Sure.
you want to start us off?
Technically, I have 2 altar spaces. The first is my kitchen. The entirety of my kitchen. We are not going to specify any other part or like anything specifically because it's just all of it. I dedicate like my cooking as like devotional acts and whatnot in various ways. I use a lot of my kitchen utensils and my praxis in general. So I have various like odds and ends, like little bowls and like unique silverware that if I want to do some kind of like working, like I'll just pick which one feels more right. I do try to keep my kitchen pretty organized. I don't know. It looks like a kitchen. I have been thinking about adding a specific little altar corner to like Caffeina and Andy. I'm still calling him Andy. Otherwise, like my main altar right now that I'm probably going to adjust is my fireplace. So as you look at it, the fireplace in the actual fireplace is my couple-gallon cast iron kettle that has salt in the bottom that I'll use for incense and stuff like that. And attached to the handle is a string of polymer clay pumpkin beads that I made myself. And on the actual mantle, I have my statue of Cernunnos. And beside him, I have like an 8x10 art piece of hell. And otherwise I have a bunch of like around that on the wall, I have a bunch of postcard depictions of the deities I work with. I found them on Redbubble. They're all by the same artist. And otherwise in the middle I have my cream and sugar set, and the scalloped edge spoon that we talked about sits right in front of that. And in general there's just candles everywhere. Yeah.
Now I've got a question for you since you said candles. Are they scented or unscented? Because I know sometimes this is contentious. Some places.
So I guess I can't say just unscented. I have both, but I save the scented candles for specific things I want to do, like for an intended purpose. Otherwise, like general like offering candles and whatnot are usually unscented, and if I'm gonna be honest, they're all white because I just buy white candles and then I'll put my intended purpose on it. I don't do a whole lot with color magic.
Sif,
Ew.
time to take us through your altar.
Okay, I'm going to turn around so I can actually see it. Anyone that's seen a picture of my altar knows that it's kind of like 2 separate side tables. On the top left is Hell, my area to Hell. There is a awesome piece of art in the back. I recently got a very cool, nice statue of Hell that's in the front. I have some drawings of the Valkyries on either side. I think those are my earliest drawings of the Valkyries. I have 2 awesome black candles that are kind of like dripped in the most awesome aesthetic fashion, like proper gothic kind of like dripped down, and they're in candle holders, like the proper ones that you can put your finger in and like wander the halls of your castle around, and like as the light reflects off the skulls that you have and all of that. I've got an arm ring on there that I use to initiate ritual for myself. We said about psychological cues. That's one of them. Loads of other little candles. I think I've got 2 pillar candles on there as well. Loads of bones of various creatures. I've got a Viking boat on there that is also an incense holder. I've got a Heathens Against Hate badge there. Oh, and an offering bowl. That would help. There's Hell. Right below Hell, I've got my Air altar, which has a pestle and mortar, a drawing of air, some medical plant / books, like poisons, antidotes, all of that. I've got some antique surgical equipment, also another offering bowl, so many offering bowls and candles. And then in the main section, I have my joint Freya, Valkyries, Scarthy, and Sif altars that are split top and bottom. The top has a Freya statue and a Scarthy statue, and little Odin, Thor, and Tyr statues. Little kind of handmade clay ones. Loads of candles still, scented and unscented. Next to Freya, I have a necklace and loads of dried flowers, and an offering bowl, and candles, and art. Got a helm of ore incense holder, and on Scarthy's section, I have several knives. Got like a few rings that I gave to Freya and Scarthy and Sif. Drinking horn down there. I've got some mead down there. And I think that's it. It's slightly in shadow. Oh, and the altar itself is surrounded by plants. And it has a view of the sky, because I'm being poetic. And I really would like something outside, but I'm currently in an apartment building and don't have an outside garden area. So once I'm back in that situation where I can have an outside altar, I will put an altar outside where I can go mad with all the candles, bearing in mind fire safety. I think that's and string. I have string from Safer Practice, and generally quite a lot of books around my altar area, because that's where I kind of focus and do devotional reading activities. And it is in the center of my home. It's out in the open because I have the advantage of not being in the broom closet. I live with my fiance who is apatheist, and he's happy for me to have that space there. And yeah, I think that's everything. There's just a lot of art and candles and just flowers and plants and skulls and bones. Oh, and my deer skull that I've got on my Scarthy altar. I think that is it.
It sounds like quite the setup. That's pretty good.
Oh, yeah, I'll stop now. It's just people have seen it. I'll probably post a picture
I would
of it
love
at
to
some
see
point.
it.
Okay, so I guess it's my turn. Like I said, mine is semi-organized chaos. Like I'm looking at it right now and I'm like, oh, I probably need to do a little bit of like tidying, but it is what it is. So I have some of my tarot decks, the ones that I don't use as often. The two that I use on a regular basis, I actually keep on my nightstand by my bed. That way it's like, if I'm doing something, if I'm writing something, if I'm thinking about something, and it hits me that I want to do a tarot card pull, it's right there. I've got 3 separate bowls that actually I got in a subscription box, not witchy one of those lifestyle ones. I got this like 3 set of blue and white ceramic bowls, so they're all on there. One holds can't say all of my crystals, but a decent amount of them. One holds the gold necklace and bracelet that I have dedicated to Freya, that I dedicated to her probably about 2 years ago. Those are now hers. They belong to her. They stay there. And also in that bowl is actually a miniature troll doll whose hair has been removed with cedar leaves, actually. It's one of my favorite little random things. A friend of mine bought me that, and I was like, that's so perfect. And it goes on my altar. It sits there.
That's fantastic. That's so
It's
good.
adorable. I love it. I also have one with sage. Not white sage, I promise, guys. Believe it's either blue or desert sage. I have to remember off the top of my head, but I know it's not white. More crystals, more crystals. I am that witch. I do love my crystals. I have a large mirror tray that is actually completely rimmed in rose quartz. I use that about 5 different ways at least. I use it as my tray for when I'm lighting my tea lights, because I use a brand of tea lights that I actually don't need a holder for, because it's not a tin that they're in a thicker plastic that I then reuse for other things. But I put them on the mirror rather than putting them on the wooden shelf because, well, fire safety and heat safety. But I've also used it with dry erase markers to put sigils or bind runes, signs of planets, depending on if I'm throwing in some planetary magic. What else is on there? I'm gonna stand up for a second. The prayer beads that I've made for Air, for Freya, and for Hel. My mortar and pestle. I have a teacup and saucer. And in the teacup is actually a candle. I got that about a year and a half ago, and I still have not lit the candle just because it's so pretty. Oh, okay. More candles. Because, candles, I'm a witch, whatever. My big giant thing of cinnamon sticks, other herbs like cloves, star anise, my RBG prayer candle, because female empowerment, a couple of oils, dragon's blood oil, because I use that very, very often. That's probably the second most used item in any of my workings besides my rose petals. I've got a divination oil that was given to me as a present, a couple oils that I have made myself, 2 that are steeping at the moment, so they won't be used for another couple of weeks at least. My homemade cleansing sprays, again, since I don't use incense at all, so I don't use smoke cleansing, I use cleansing sprays. 2 selenite towers, an herb grinder, promise it's for herbs. I do have a second shelf underneath it. It's not really consecrated as an altar, but it's where I have a lot of my books and some of my other tools and herbs. So like I said, slightly organized chaos, but it works for me.
I love the stuff is everywhere and I get it when I need it kind of vibe.
Yeah. It's like, it's there. I know it's there.
That thing where you know exactly where it is and you can picture it in your mind.
Exactly. I can tell you exactly where it is. If you try and find it on your own, no, but I will sit there and tell you it is on the left side, behind this, to the right. So,
No, exactly.
Yep. And I'm sure we'll all put up pictures of our authors in the Discord if people ask. Or at least parts of it. Right. Exactly. If, whatever parts we're comfortable with.
Talked about my hell corner, which is a great way to say that now that I said it out loud. My hell corner. On my Freya vanity, I just got a new mirror, so I'm gonna add runes around it and some light because I'm an attic bitch. It's so trashy. It's a little plastic bowl. Like, it's not even like cute plastic. It's like very much plastic that is meant to be thrown away. It's this little squared off bowl that I spray painted black and added sparkles to. And I filled it with Himalayan salt and shoved all of my Freya rocks in there. So I have some like calcitite, I have rose petals in there, I have some runes, and I have my heart butt in there. That's my little Freya bowl.
Your Freya rocks, or like your frocks, if you will.
Frocks. Oh, I'm gonna get smited.
You're welcome.
Jesus. I have a shelf full of miscellaneous moon stuff, including the incredible art that Sifted. I ordered it off Redbubble of Soleimani, and I don't remember which wolf it is, but it's one of them, as well as other miscellaneous moon things. I have one of the things that I found at a thrift store that I continue to find at thrift stores are candles, and one day I came across these round candles. They're just spheres. They're my Bonnie candles now, because the moon is round and so are these. They live on that altar. I have a bunch of rocks I found at the beach because water-tide moon. That's the connection my brain made. They live there. I have my air altar, which I've talked about before. It's a vintage Girl Scout first aid tin, the kind that would have like a belt would have woven through and you'd wear it on your hip.
I love that so much.
A candle
That's like
in
my
there.
favorite.
It's so good. I have a candle in there that when I need to do a thing, I open it up and light the candle outside of the tin. Don't put burning things inside metal things, it'll get hot. Safety. I have a piece of paper taped to the back with a air bind rune, taped a piece of eucalyptus on there, and I have a magnet that looks like a band-aid from a local health center that they gave away at like a health fair. So I have a band-aid magnet in there, which is fucking insane. I have an old tequila display case, like an old Patron tequila display case that now holds all of my divination tools.
That sounds perfect.
Really, I'm a dumbass.
I
just sit on
love
my
when
bed.
you showed that off.
God, I love it. It's so stupid. God, I love it so much. And then I have like my witch supply shit. I have a big 3x3 cube shelf, and miscellaneous boxes hold different things. So I have one for like skincare, one for makeup, one for miscellaneous candles that I need to deal with. Rad. One has all of my herbs and shit, so all my salts, all the herbs I've grown and dried, coffee, some cinnamon sticks, a bunch of jars. Good lord, I have jars. And I have all the other functional tools, so mortar and pestle, bowl, containers. I have a rice cooker that I use as a simmer pot, which has been super great. I have a miscellaneous soup that has some herb bundles I'm gonna burn someday, probably, maybe. And stickers. God, I have stickers down there. I have one that has art supplies and one that has my witch shit books. So my bind rune book, my spell book, the fuck else is in there? My tarot guide that I made, my divination card thing, the grimoire I keep saying I'm gonna write in, but I don't because I'm scared of ruining it. and that. Those are the things that are real close. And when I need it, I pull it all over to my desk, which is right next to it, and I do the things.
So super quick tip, because I heard you going with the grimoire. Shout out, they will know who they are. Great video out there about study tips for witches, and something to talk about is that fear of, holy shit, I don't want to fuck this up. Take a random page and just scribble all over it. Guess what? Now it's not perfect.
Yeah, you can do that. Or one thing I do is I go to Walmart and I get the 30-cent composition notebooks. And then I do most of my writing in them because I can't really fuck that up. It costs less than $1. And then I just go ham in that. And then if there's stuff in there that really speaks to me and that I want to keep, I put that into the grimoire.
I just learned I make the mistake of I'm impulsive. I'm a true Aries stellium and I'm impulsive. So sometimes I've already done this once, which is why I'm avoiding using that book for now. I first got it, I was like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna put all the rune stuff in there. And I started putting rune stuff in there, and halfway through I was like, oh god, the reference book I'm using is 98% Thorson with a dash of Wicca. This has to stop now. I ripped it all out and redid the things that I liked. Now I haven't touched it again. The thing I figured out with myself is drink a glass of wine, then I will have the courage right in the book. I can only do it when I drink.
All right.
That's great.
That was how I started it. I literally sat down one day and I said, I'm going to write in this book, and I got a glass of wine, and halfway through the glass of wine, I was like, okay, I can do this.
I love it.
Oh, you know what I need to talk about? I need to talk about my sticker altar.
Yes.
I have a planner because I'm a child and I need to write things down, and I hate phone calendars. So I have a planner, and in the back, in most of these, week by week, day by day planners, they have a page for notes, or 8 pages for notes or whatever. So I took some of those, I wrote a couple of pairs that I want to keep with me, and I bought an ass ton of stickers. A lot of them are Sif stickers, and I need to buy more. Because they're good. And I am filling the back 2 pages with stickers that represent or are dedicated to deities I need in my life. So I have a Hestia, I have a Frigg, I have the Norns, a couple for Hel. I have a tarot card for coffee for Kafena, because Kafena, need her in my life. A number of Freyas. Some of them are human, like Sif's art, they're human representations. I have another one for Freya that's sticker of a hand, and then another sticker of fire over that hand. So I build little representations like that. I have one on Redbubble and I balled out, so I have little itty bitty tarot cards lining one of the pages. I have the cardinal directions in the form of tarot symbolism, 4 corners. It's just random. I'll post pictures.
It's actually a great idea for an in the broom closet altar, especially because I know I bring my planner with me everywhere.
If you do that, get vinyl stickers, because that way you can clean them.
I think we may have touched on it a little bit in the Broke Bitch episode.
Yes.
But digital altars.
Yes.
Totally valid. I actually have one in my Animal Crossing island, and I will take a screenshot of it at some point if someone reminds me, and I'll drop it in the Discord. It is absolutely freaking adorable. It is very random at the moment. Very random. At one point I had an outdoor one before I restarted my island. And that one, there was a combination of fossils you were able to use to create a representation of the horned man, of the horned god. It was kind of awesome, and I wish I could find it again. So I had that with a giant ass fire outside my house. My island is always so random. But for right now, it's a
fantastic.
room. Yeah, it's my upstairs room. I've literally got, so for any of you who know the game, I've got the Gothic cabinet, got something. You guys will know when you hear it. And on it, I've got 2 things of amber, obviously for Freya. I have a pile of books just randomly on there. I have a mug of coffee for caffeine because anywhere you go, need it. What else do I have on there? It's been a little bit since I've jumped on my island, so I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. But I've got a bunch of stuff on there too. So, and that's just for those moments, like if I'm on vacation, I just need a moment to like center. I know I can hop on my island and, kind of stare at it for a minute. And that's the thing too, is that altars don't have to be stationary. We've gone through the travel altars.
Altoid tins.
Right. Altoid tins,
Pocket watches.
tarot bags, anything that's going to be,
Pocket
pocket watches. Oh,
And a
anything that
planner.
you can like, planner. Yeah.
Get you one of those mini composition notebooks from Dollar Tree, like the itty bitty pocket sized ones. Fill that bitch up with stickers.
That's brilliant, actually. So,
How many brilliant points I get today? That's like 4.
Doing great.
at least.
We didn't talk very much about like IRL outside altars, mostly because I think they're pretty self-explanatory. You pick a spot. But I'll talk a little bit about mine. I have one outside my window because I have like a little corner of outside my window hidden by a fence. It's great. I can do whatever I want back there.
Yes.
I rolled a big ass tree stump back into that corner, and I put a little like outdoor pot. It's a little bowl. At first, before I was like doing witch shit, it was for our cat who would come outside with us and roam around. She was a bitch, so we have to put water out for her everywhere because she won't go back. She's a little bitch. For a while, it was for her. After she passed away, I left it out there, and it's kind of a generic space for land, spirits, gods, whites, whatever. I have half an orchard, so I throw oranges on the stump. Herbs that I've grown, I'll cut lavender off and throw it on there. I also have a stick that hangs above that. I cut into the shape of an algae's rune, so it's got the little like trident shape, and I wrapped it in lavender about a year ago, and she is still going strong, hanging literally right outside my window.
I love that.
That's it. It's just a stump that I put things on, and because I decided so. It's an altar.
I mean, that's like step 1 of altar making.
Step 1: decide it's an altar.
Yeah, literally.
Step 2, optional.
Step 2, whatever you want. If not, it's all good.
Yes.
Just remember, altars aren't a requirement ever.
They also don't have to be
Correct.
permanent.
Yes, and they can change. Don't be afraid to look at it and go, you know what, this isn't working for me anymore. Clear the entire thing off, clean it, cleanse it,
Or,
and start all over
I mean,
again.
like, for my kitchen, it is an altar, but it's not an altar all the time. Only an altar when I want it to be one.
Right.
Changing your altar with the seasons is something I know some witches do, or they'll change it with the Sabbats. And I am so jealous of half of them when they do these really gorgeous looking altars that change depending on the season. So like a lot of the witches that I know who do this are starting to show off their Ostera altars, and it's so cute and so pretty, and it's all bunnies and flowers and fertility, and the world's coming back to normal, and it's like, oh, I want it. But organized chaos is me. So don't feel like your altar needs to be perfect ever. Don't compare your altar to other people. Sorry. That's brilliant.
And then Jay died.
Yes.
I posted a GIF in the chat of Oompa Loompas shining golden eggs. I'm pretty sure those are Oompa Loompas.
Yeah, you're
those
correct.
are Oompa Loompas.
It's
That's
literally
great.
me cleaning my altar space.
It's great.
I'm sorry.
Why?
A little. I'm not actually
Killed
sorry.
her.
I lied.
She broke.
I don't know why that's so funny to me. I really don't, but that's fucking hysterical.
Sif, I have a question for you actually, as resident recon who knows things. You mentioned iron on historical altars or historical
Yeah.
a lot of magical practices and cultures, iron is considered to be detrimental to spiritual connection. Do you happen to know what the fuck is going on with the Norse about that then?
It was durable, and it was coming to the point where iron is, it was something they used frequently, and it's kind of a little bit skewed because although I quoted written sources, of course, the only thing that will really survive the hundreds of years is iron. So it might be a case of we're a little bit skewed in that respect, so that they might have used wood quite frequently, but those just didn't last. We don't really have any sort of connection. I know that like the fair folk in some cultures don't like iron. I don't think that's a case in heathenry.
No, because we have grave sites, where Volva who had iron staffs, right?
Yeah,
Right.
so there isn't so much that connection between it being something that's like the antithesis of magic.
So that's really good to know for like new heathens in magic, that the idea of iron being a no-no for magical and spiritual practices doesn't exist in our framework. We don't have record of that.
Yeah, because you'll hear a lot of people, especially in the witchy community, people will try and throw out the historical iron is... I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the word because there was a conversation about it about a week and a half ago, and I wasn't even attempting it. But basically, like you said, it's detrimental to spirits, like it hurts them, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there are some older grimoire traditions that do say that, but I actually know that during that same conversation, 2 Hellenics came in on it and said no. Who else? There was a bunch of different traditions. Everyone came in saying no. So I know a lot of times that things like that will get the traction on social media, and baby witches especially will hear it.
I think part of that comes from how represented Wicca traditions are, and Wicca traditions pull really heavily from Celtic, so it makes sense that they cling to the iron as spiritually repulsive. That doesn't make it across the board true.
So the big thing that we are going to continue to try to drive home is your altar is yours. Don't feel like it has to be perfect, ever. Don't feel like you have to share it, ever. If you want to, great. If you don't want to, that's fine. Don't ever feel feel pressured to do so. And don't compare your altar to other people's. Oftentimes on social media, the people who will post their altars that look super pretty have staged them to look like that. I will bet you even money that it took some effort for them to put it together to look like that. So don't feel like, oh, well, this person, has a much prettier altar than I do. Altar envy is real, though. I feel it regularly when I look at some people's, and I'm like, oh my god, that looks so cool. And then I'm like, but mine is mine, so it doesn't matter. And it'll take time to get there, but yeah.
Yep.
So I think that's it, unless anyone else has any last thoughts.
No, I think we covered altars quite well.
All right. Well, we want to thank you guys again for all of the support you guys are giving us. It's been an insane ride with us. And we're really, really, really thankful for all of you. So please remember to like and subscribe and hit that bell so you get notifications, because we do drop usually 2 a week. One of our coffee breaks and our main episode as well. We hope you guys are all doing good, gonna have a good weekend or a good week, whenever. And remember, keep heathenry weird.
Yeah.
Woohoo!